Hey, friends, welcome to today's discussion. I wanted to talk to you about a very special visa opportunity for undocumented individuals. And I think that you will really enjoy today's discussion. So did you know that if you are a victim or were a victim of a serious crime in the United States, that you could be eligible for a visa? Yes, it's called the U visa. So you can qualify even if you're undocumented. You can qualify even if you entered without inspection, without permission. So the U visa was created specifically for individuals who are victims of serious crimes. Okay, so if you're new here, my name is Ebony Anuforo. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm located in Jersey City, New Jersey. However, I do represent clients in all 50 states and around the world regarding U.S. immigration. I help them take control of their immigration cases, understand their rights regarding U.S. immigration, and how to create the future that they deserve. So, in today's discussion, I'm going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about the U visa, such as who qualifies, how it works, and what to expect in the process. So, stick around and let's get chatting. So, what is the U visa? The U visa is a special immigration benefit for victims of certain serious crimes who have suffered mental or physical harm and who are willing to help law enforcement or government officials in the investigation or the prosecution of the crime. So, Congress created the U visa to help protect vulnerable individuals, especially those who are undocumented immigrants, from being afraid to report their crimes because of their immigration status. So, what happened was many, and this still happens today, many undocumented immigrants who are victims of crimes, they are so afraid that they will be deported or they would be separated from their loved ones if they were to go to law enforcement and report a crime that they were a victim of. So, a lot of times, what happens is these individuals, they suffer in silence. They don't report their abuser or they don't report these incidents to law enforcement. And a lot of times, even when law enforcement is trying to prosecute or investigate a specific crime and they need someone who's undocumented to come forward with information to assist in their investigation, because of the fear that the undocumented individual has, they weren't coming forward. And there were so many cases of people who were even hurt, from their abusers, even in domestic violence situations. So that Congress decided to create this regulation, to create this benefit so that individuals in those situations would feel comfortable coming forward, knowing that they wouldn't be penalized for reporting to law enforcement. And if they cooperated in the investigation, they would be able to apply for a visa and eventually get legal permanent residence in the country. And once you become a legal permanent resident, obviously, eventually you can apply for naturalization. So the U visa is a great benefit for so many people who are victims and who are willing to cooperate and work with law enforcement. So let's talk about who qualifies for the U visa. I kind of went into it a little bit already. So in order for you to be eligible for a U visa, you must meet five key requirements. One, you have to be a victim or were a victim of a qualifying crime. And these include domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, kidnapping, stalking, and other serious offenses. There are several serious offenses out there. You have to have suffered substantial physical or mental abuse as a result of the crime. Also, you have information about the crime or you're helpful in some way. So, meaning that you are willing and open to assist law enforcement or the government in their investigation. Okay. And this doesn't mean that the government officials have to actually prosecute the person who committed the crime against you. You just have to be able to show that you were and you are able to help law enforcement in the investigation or prosecution of the crime. Also, the crime had to have occurred in the United States or violated some US law. All right. You do not need to have legal status to apply for the U visa. So if you're here without a documentation, you're undocumented, and you entered, even if you entered without inspection, the U visa is still a visa that you could qualify for, granted that you meet all of the requirements that I listed. So I just want to expand a little bit. I talked a little bit about some of the qualifying crimes and what they are. So some additional examples include, and not limited to, domestic violence, felonious assault, sexual assault or rape. I mentioned human trafficking, kidnapping, witness tampering, involuntary servitude, female genital mutilation, and many, many more. So there's a full list that is available on the USCIS website. But the key is that the crime must be serious, right? And you must have been directly harmed by it, right? There are some exceptions in terms of indirect harm, but on the for the most part, if you suffered any one of these crimes that is listed here, or if even if you don't see the crime that happened to you on this list, or even on the USCIS list, speak with an attorney. Maybe your crime falls under one of these, right? So it might fall under felonious assault. So just don't assume that you don't qualify. If you were a victim of a crime, I recommend that you do consider reaching out to an immigration attorney to discuss whether or not you qualify. Now, let's talk about the certification requirement. So, one of the most important parts of the U visa application is something called the Form I 918B, the law enforcement certification. So, this form has to be signed by a police department, a prosecutor's office, a judge, or any other agency showing that you actually helped with the investigation, or you were willing to help with the investigation. So, unfortunately, without this signed form, the USCIS cannot approve your U visa. So this is usually the first step in every U visa application process. You would call an attorney if the attorney determines that you qualify for a U visa. They will send this form to the law enforcement agency you've been working with. They will review it. They'll include information about what happened to you and so forth, draft a letter and all of that. And then the law enforcement agency will sign off on it. Once they sign off on it, they'll send it back to your attorney, and then the attorney can go ahead and file for the U visa. But this is a step that cannot be missed. So you actually have to show proof that you have been cooperative or willing to cooperate with law enforcement. So what happens if you actually qualify? So if your U visa is approved, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get 4 years of legal status in the US. You get work authorization, protection from deportation, the ability to apply for a green card after 3 years, the chance to include certain family members like your spouse, children, and in some case, maybe parents or siblings. And you get relief, control, joy, peace of mind. That's what you also get if you get approved for a U visa. So it's a very powerful form of relief, especially for survivors who are looking to rebuild and start their lives over. So let's talk about some challenges and the backlog, okay? So I want to just be honest. The U visa, um, the case can take years, right? It can take many, many years actually to process because there's an annual cap of only 10,000 visas per year. So I want to tell you that, it is going to be a process that you're going to have to wait, but at the end, it's going to be worth it if you're actually approved, right? So that is the good news, right? The other good news that I want to talk about is that USCIS may grant something called a deferred action while you wait, which can still allow you to work and stay in the US legally, right? So, for many people, just having the ability to work for themselves and earn a living is able to provide so much peace and relief for them and their families. So it's a very good thing, even though that you're going to be waiting a long time for the U visa to be approved. It's still a very important process that I think if you do qualify or if you are a victim, you should consider um, applying for. I think it's very important that you work with an experienced immigration attorney to help because with the U visa, it's not just about filing the form, but it's about building a strong case with supporting documents. So, police reports, medical evaluations, personal declarations, those are some of the really strong evidence that you can include with a petition. But even though there will be backlogs, even though this is going to be a long process, all in all, if you are approved, it is absolutely worth the wait because you'll be able to have peace of mind, relief, and legal status in this country. Even though there is a long wait, the good thing about this process is when I mentioned deferred action is that USCIS can also grant something called a bona fide determination for U visas. And that is where they determine if your U visa petition is legitimate, and it qualifies you for certain benefits while your petition is pending. So this process allows applicants to receive their work permit, um, and deferred action, like I mentioned earlier, which is protection from deportation while they're waiting for their U visa. So it is a really, really special benefit for those who truly qualify, for those who were victims and are seeking to take control back of their lives. So don't take the U visa for granted. It's an amazing benefit. So I do get a lot of questions about the U visa, but I just want to talk about some of the top questions that I get, or even just hesitations that I see when I do talk to clients. And one of the questions is, can I apply even if the person who hurt me wasn't arrested or convicted? And a lot of times when they hear U visa, victim of a crime, they have to, that you have to show that you're cooperative. They assume that the person had to be convicted in order for them to get approved, and that's not the case. As long as you were helpful and the crime was reported, like you actually reported the crime to law enforcement and you answered their questions, you were cooperative, you were there when they filled the police report, that is enough for you to at least reach out to law enforcement to get the certification signed. You don't have to show USCIS that there was a conviction, right? And the person was sentenced. You just have to prove that you cooperated. So even if the person was, let go, and the case was dismissed and they were never charged, right? If they decided to not charge the person the crime, that doesn't preclude you from applying for the U visa. You only have to show that you were cooperative and willing to work. Another thing that comes up is the fear that they have no status or they came in without inspection, iwi. And I always say that, yes, even if you cross the border unlawfully, the U visa can still protect you. So there is protection for those individuals. And then a lot of times I see is that people are scared. They're scared to report a crime. They were a victim of a crime and they never reported it, right? Or it happened recently and they didn't report it. And I say to these individuals, you're not alone. Many people have a fear of coming forward when they have been a victim of a crime, but that is the whole point of the U visa. That's why it was created so people that were victims or who were a victim of a crime, like yourself, like the individuals who are afraid, they don't have to suffer in silence. That was the whole point of why Congress created this U visa, is to give those individuals their power back and give them a way to report, knowing that they're going to be protected. So don't be afraid. If you are a victim and you were a victim of a crime, the U visa protects you. So I want to leave you with this. So if you've experienced pain, if you've experienced fear or trauma because someone hurt you and you're scared to speak up because of your immigration status, I want you to know that you're not alone. The U visa exists to protect people like you. It was created because too many immigrants were suffering in silence, afraid to call the police or get help. But here in the US, you have rights, even if you're undocumented, despite all the things that we're seeing around, you still have rights, okay? Especially when you've been a victim. So I want to recap on what we've talked about today. So the U visa is for victims of certain serious crimes like domestic violence, assault, trafficking, or sexual abuse. You must have suffered harm or and be willing to help law enforcement, okay? You'll need to have a signed certification form from the police or prosecutor or other agencies who you reported the crime to. If you're approved, you get a work permit, work authorization. You also get protection from deportation and a pathway to a green card. You may even be able to include your children, your spouse, and other qualifying family members to your petition. But I also want to be honest, okay? I mentioned before that this process does take time, so it can be very emotional. And I want to be honest that it's not going to be an easy process to navigate on your own, so that's why my office is here. We're here to support people like you who are in this situation. We've helped many clients in similar situations, people who thought that they had no options, they thought they were stuck, people who were told to wait or to hide or stay low key, people who were ready to leave and give up and throw it all away. So I say this because I hope that you are encouraged by this and you know that there is hope. Okay. So if this video spoke with you, please know that you're not just a case number. You are a survivor and you deserve safety, you deserve peace, and a chance to build your future. So if you're ready to talk, or even if you just want to explore your options, you can reach out to me for a confidential consultation. You can call or send us a WhatsApp message or visit our website. The links are in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This channel is here where I provide so much information about different immigration topics. Okay. And share this with someone you know who might need this information. Okay. You never know who could need the help. You never know who in your community is going through something. So, again, I want to thank you for watching and I want you to stay safe, stay empowered, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.